The sky above Zakar 9 shimmered like a cracked prism, light bending strangely through the planet's thick purple haze. Heat rippled from the landing pad's metal floor, blurring the outlines of distant guard towers and alien figures, moving with mechanical precision. As the shuttle doors hissed open, Malik Johnson stepped onto the base's surface with his duffel slung across one shoulder and his pride sitting heavy on the other. He paused, letting the first breath of alien air fill his lungs. It was sharp, a little metallic, and hot like New Orleans asphalt in July. Malik's dark brown skin glistened with instant sweat, and the moment felt biblical, stepping into a new world with nothing but his name, his history, and his will. "Yo, fresh meat!" someone called. A tall, silver-skinned alien with glowing blue eyes stood at the edge of the docking platform. "Welcome to Fort Oba. You're the human?" Malik raised an eyebrow. "I'm a human." "Last I checked, we got more than one." Laughter, sharp and mocking, erupted behind the alien. A group of soldiers, 3 Tentari, 1 heavy Ralkan, and a spindly Yix with flickering antennae, stood watching him like spectators at a zoo. "Don't worry, they just never seen a black man before," a voice said behind him. He turned. A woman in a sleek navy uniform stood with arms crossed, her deep mahogany skin offset by short coiled hair that framed her face like a crown. She looked like power-made flesh. "Taranjoki," she said. "Intel. Don't let their stares get in your head." "I'm used to it," Malik said, offering a small nod. "Malik Johnson, Staff Sergeant." "Good," she said, starting to walk. "Because out here folks'll test you every damn day." Malik followed her down a long corridor, lit with red ambient light. The architecture was a bizarre mix of alien alloys and patched-in Earth tech. Fort Oba had history written in scars, wall patches from past battles, hybrid consoles with old Earth language labels, and banners from worlds Malik had never heard of. "Are you from Earth, right?" Tara asked. "Yeah, born in Detroit, raised mostly in Atlanta. Got out of there before it turned into Old Zone 6. "Respect," she said. "I'm Nairobi-born. 3rd-gen Martian settler, though. My parents rebuilt after the sandstorm riots. We come from survivors, you feel me?" "I feel you." She stopped outside the barracks and turned to face him. "Look, out here being humans already a strike. Being us? Multiply that. Most aliens think we're loud, emotional, primitive, weak. The brass won't say it, but they treat us like novelty acts. I didn't come to be a sideshow. Then make sure they don't forget your name." Before Malik could respond, a booming voice echoed through the hallway. "Which one of you is the Terran muscle?" The speaker was massive, an alien general with a shell-like exosuit etched in gold. General Grak Thul, they would later whisper. War hero, monster, pride of the Zakari. Malik stepped forward. "That'd be me." The general looked him up and down, unimpressed. "You're shorter than I expected, and softer." Malik's eyes narrowed. "That's so." Grak Thul barked a laugh, a wet, guttural sound. "Tell me, Terran, can you even lift a Zakari warcore? Or are those Earth muscles just decoration?" The soldiers nearby chuckled. Tara's lips pressed into a thin line, but she stayed silent. Malik didn't break eye contact. "You ever seen a man lift a whole floor?" That shut them up. The general stared, then smirked. "We shall see." As Grak Thul turned and stomped away, the crowd dispersed, but Malik could feel their eyes lingering. Tara leaned close and whispered, "You just made a target out of yourself." "I was born one." She nodded, something like pride flashing across her eyes. "Then you better aim to hit back." Malik stood in the heat of Zakar 9, sweat on his brow, 1,000 stars above him, and a weight on his shoulders he'd carried his whole life. This was just the beginning. The mess hall of Fort Oba buzzed with voices in a dozen languages, some sharp and clicking, others drawn out like humming. The scent was worse. Burnt protein paste, spiced vapor from alien herbs, and the unmistakable funk of 100 species sweating under artificial lights. Malik slid his tray down the rail, trying to make sense of the food options. Most of it looked like rubber or sludge. "You might want to skip the green one," Tiara said beside him, nodding at a jiggling blob. "That's fermented Yix root." "Smells like burnt feet," Malik smirked. "Yeah, I figured my stomach deserves better on day one." They found an empty table near the back. As Malik sat, a low murmur spread through the hall. Eyes flicked his way again, some curious, some suspicious. "Don't take it personal," Tara said, stabbing a chunk of synth meat with her fork. "You'd think after 5 decades in the Alliance they'd get used to us." "Still feels like high school," Malik muttered. "The whole room clocking me like I'm lost." "That's because they ain't used to seeing confidence on Earth's skin." A loud thunk interrupted them. One of the Tentari soldiers from earlier, a broad-shouldered one with glowing shoulder ridges, dropped his tray on the table across from them and leaned forward. "You human males are soft," he said. "No armor, no carapace. Your species barely survived its own planet. You ain't built for war." Malik didn't flinch. "Funny, considering we've survived more wars than any of y'all combined." The Tentari narrowed his eyes. "Barely." "Don't mistake scars for weakness," Tara added coldly. "Where we come from, pain ain't an obstacle. It's a teacher." The alien grunted and walked off, but the tension stayed thick. Malik looked around the hall, noting how humans were few and far between. A couple Martian-borns in engineering uniforms, 1 or 2 Earth-born medics. But in combat roles, he might have been the only one. "I don't need their approval," Malik said finally, pushing his food around. "I just came to do my job." "You do," Tara replied, "but you also carry every one of us on your back. Like it or not, we ain't individuals to them. We're symbols. They see one of us fail, they think all of us weak." Malik sighed, feeling the weight of that truth. It wasn't new. It had just followed him across galaxies. Later, back in the barracks, he found his bunk already tagged with a decal. Primate unit. A joke. Crude. Lazy. The kind of insult that tried to cut deep without being clever. He peeled it off slowly, hands steady. "Don't let them bait you," a voice said from across the aisle. A tall woman with golden eyes and copper-toned scales sat on her bunk, polishing a plasma rifle. "I'm Yaka," she said. "Ralkan Spec Ops. I've seen what your kind can do. Most of these fools talk big 'cause they scared." Malik nodded. "Appreciate it. Word of advice? Prove them wrong loud. Make 'em remember who you are." He lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, thoughts racing. Earth was a long way behind him, but the struggle, that never left. Same stares, same judgments, just new faces, new species. But if they wanted proof, he'd give it to them. And when he did, there wouldn't be any forgetting. Drills on Zakar 9 didn't start with warm-ups. They started with humiliation. On the second morning, under the sharp orange sun, the recruits were assembled on the dust flats, an open, heat-blasted stretch of ground where the gravity generators were intentionally set 15% higher. Everything was heavier, every breath harder. General Grakthul stood tall on a raised platform, armored arms crossed, flanked by 2 Zakari captains. His voice boomed across the training field. "Today," he growled, "we assess your physical viability, your stamina, your strength, your worth." Malik stood between a pair of towering Urksil twins and a stocky, furred Sargon. He could feel the sneers already forming. One of the Zakari captains stepped forward and pointed toward the center of the flats, where a massive dark stone sat in the dust. It glowed faintly, etched with ancient runes and fitted with a metallic ring along its base. "That," the captain said, "is a ceremonial war core stone, solid krillite, traditional rite of strength. If you can lift it, you are deemed warrior class." Malik tilted his head. The damn thing had to weigh a ton. Literally. No joke. A murmur spread through the line. The Yik scout whispered something in her own language, translated instantly through neural comms. No human has ever lifted it, not even with assistance. Too fragile. Grakthul's eyes locked on Malik. Perhaps our newest addition would care to try, unless he fears damage to his delicate physiology. Malik stepped forward before Tiara could say anything. He glanced back. Her expression was unreadable, but she didn't stop him. "I'll give it a shot," Malik said, walking toward the stone. Laughter. Not loud, but mocking. The kind that says, "Don't embarrass yourself, boy." He crouched near the war core, ran his hands over its surface. Cold. Rough. Vibrating slightly. Whatever was inside it pulsed like a dormant heart. He closed his eyes, not out of fear, but focus. Back home, Uncle Isaiah used to say, "When you lift, you don't just use muscle, you use memory. You call on the people that came before you. You let them lift with you." Malik placed both hands under the stone, dug his feet into the cracked soil. The gravity pressed down like a hand on his back. Grakthul chuckled. "Careful, human. Wouldn't want you to rupture something vital." Malik said nothing. He exhaled, then he pulled. The war core didn't move. He reset, breathed deep. Again. Dust kicked up around his boots. His arms trembled, the muscles in his back locked like steel cables. The crowd quieted. The laughter stopped. Then, shift. A groan from the metal ring, a tremble in the ground. The war core moved, half an inch, then another. Then, with a guttural yell that echoed off the towers of Fort Oba, Malik lifted the entire stone, shoulders straining, veins bulging, heart pounding in his ears. He held it. The platform cracked beneath him. A spiderweb fracture shot outward from his boots. A loud crack followed. The ground broke. The war core dropped with a thud, sending a shock wave through the flats. Dust exploded upward in a blinding burst. Silence. Grakthul stared, unreadable. The Urxil twins backed up. The Sargon blinked. The Yix scout actually clapped her antennae together, a sign of stunned respect. Malik stood, chest heaving, sweat dripping, hands red. Grakthul stepped forward. "Impressive." Malik nodded once. "Told you, we built different." The general's smirk faded. Or perhaps too different. Malik caught the shift in tone, the change in the wind. Something deeper had stirred. Tara appeared at his side a second later. "You good?" "Yeah," he said, staring at the cracked floor beneath him. "But I think I just broke more than the ground." That night the silence in Fort Oba was thicker than the air. Malik sat alone in the observatory wing, a narrow dome with a cracked glass ceiling that framed the stars like stained glass. The War Corps incident had made him a legend overnight, and not in a way that felt safe. They weren't whispering about his strength. They were whispering about what else a human might be hiding, what else he might break. Tara found him sitting on the floor, back against the wall, eyes on the constellations above. "You okay?" she asked. "Depends," he said without looking. "You ever feel like doing something right just made everything worse?" "All the time." She lowered herself next to him, crossed-legged, arms resting on her knees. "They called it a war corps," Malik said. "But that wasn't just some weightlifting stunt, was it?" "Nope," she replied. "It's ceremonial, sacred to the Zakari. Only a handful of warriors ever lifted one. You did it like you were born to." "I didn't mean to disrespect it." "You didn't. You followed instinct." He exhaled slowly. "That's the thing. I don't even know what pushed me to do it. Wasn't just ego. It felt bigger." Tara turned to him. "You ever hear of Ubuntu?" Malik furrowed his brow. "Yeah. I am because we are, right?" "Exactly. That's what you tapped into. Whether you know it or not, when you lifted that stone, you weren't just lifting it alone. You had weight behind you, history, struggle, defiance." He nodded, the words sinking in like roots. "My grandmother used to say our ancestors be watching," Malik said. "Every time we fight with them at our back." Tara smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's time we honored that properly." She reached into her uniform and pulled out a small folded cloth. Unwrapping it revealed a polished stone, carved with symbols and wrapped in copper wire. She placed it between them. "This is from Earth," she said. "My people back home use it for centering, meditation, grounding energy." Malik looked skeptical. "That's some old world magic?" "No," she said. "It's survival. Close your eyes." He hesitated, then followed her lead. "Now breathe," she whispered. "Slow. Match the rhythm of your heart." The bass fell away in his mind. The steel, the noise, the cold air, gone. In its place came warmth, drumbeats, shadows of men and women he didn't know but somehow recognized. He saw his mother's hands gripping his shoulders before his first deployment. His grandfather's photo in uniform, framed in their hallway. His cousin's funeral, the folding flag, the tight fists, the silent tears, their voices merged in the beat of his chest. "I feel it," he murmured. "All of it." Tara nodded without opening her eyes. "That's the ritual, not just silence, not just stillness. It's connection." They sat like that for minutes or hours, time lost in the space between memory and breath. When they finally opened their eyes, the night felt lighter, brighter. "I ain't religious," Malik said softly, "but I believe in what I felt just now." "Doesn't matter what you call it," Tara replied. "What matters is what you do with it." He stood, rolled his shoulders, stared back up at the stars. "I think I know now why I lifted that thing." "Why?" "Because I had to. For me, for all of us. Even if they don't understand." Tara smirked. "They will." A low rumble shook the base, so subtle it could have been dismissed, but they both felt it. Malik turned to her. "You feel that?" "Yeah," she said, standing. "Something just woke up." The training yard was a crater. The war core stone sat embedded where Malik had dropped it, half buried in a fracture that radiated outward like a spiderweb. Maintenance drones buzzed overhead, scanning, analyzing, muttering in mechanical clicks. Engineers from 3 species debated loudly about stress fractures and structural integrity. Malik stood nearby, arms crossed, while a Zakari technician ran a scanner up and down his spine like he was some kind of malfunctioning mech. "He's still organic," the tech grunted. "Mostly." "I told you I was fine," Malik said. The technician glared at him with narrowed black eyes. "You cracked a floor reinforced to hold a dropship. You're not fine. You're dangerous." Tara arrived just in time to stop him from clapping back. She waved the tech off and handed Malik a hydration pack. "You're going to be everyone's favorite lab report for a while," she said. Malik sipped, then lowered his voice. "Something's wrong with that stone." Tara nodded. "I pulled the schematics. That area wasn't just ornamental. Underneath the war core is a sealed chamber. No one's opened it in centuries." "Any idea what's inside?" She hesitated. "Classified, but rumor is it's ancient Zakari tech, pre-alliance." Malik frowned. "Why use it as a ceremonial stone if it's sealing something? Because the Zakari believe strength should guard power. You lift it, you prove you're worthy of what's beneath." He shook his head slowly. "I wasn't trying to prove anything." "Doesn't matter," she replied. "You did." A siren blared through the base, loud and sudden. Red lights spun across the yard. Zakari soldiers shouted to one another in sharp bursts. Tara tapped her comm. "What the hell's going on?" Malik asked. "Containment breach," she said. "Sub-level 4, right under the war core." Malik looked toward the cracked stone. "You think I opened it?" "I think you triggered something," she said. "And now they're looking for someone to blame." A pair of armored guards approached. Not Alliance police, Zakari enforcers. They didn't speak, just gestured toward Malik with thick, clawed fingers. "Is this a formal detainment?" Tara demanded. "No charges yet," one growled. "Questioning. General's orders." Malik glanced at Tara. She gave him a sharp nod. "Go, just keep your mouth clean." He followed the guards through the winding corridors of Fort Oba. As they passed squads of soldiers scrambling toward lockdown zones, Malik felt eyes on him again, just like his first day. But this time, it wasn't curiosity. It was fear. They entered a dim chamber lit by pulsing red panels. Grakthul stood at the far end, arms clasped behind his back. The air in the room felt heavy, humming like a coiled storm. "You lifted the war core," the general said without turning, "and now the seal beneath it is failing." "I didn't know it was a seal," Malik said. "I was challenged. I responded." Grakthul turned, eyes burning. "You responded with recklessness. You awakened something we buried for a reason." Malik stood tall. "Or maybe you just didn't want anyone to know what was under there." The general stepped closer. "Do not mistake strength for wisdom. There are things beneath this base that predate your species' first fire." "And yet I'm the one who moved the stone," Malik said. "So maybe I'm not the one who should be afraid." Grakthul stared at him for a long, tense beat. Then he said, You will not leave this base until the breach is secured. If what stirs beneath us rises to the surface, it will be your responsibility." Malik didn't blink. "Then I guess I better be ready to handle it." And deep beneath their feet, the ground trembled again. The tremors didn't stop. For 2 nights straight, Fort Ober shook with low, rhythmic pulses, too steady to be natural, too deep to be ignored. Sensors registered them as non-seismic. No tectonic shifts, no drilling, just movement. Tara paced the command center, eyes flicking between data streams and thermal scans. Red dots pulsed on the sub-level maps, spreading outward from the cracked warcore site like roots under pressure. "Whatever's down there," she muttered, "it's not sleeping anymore." Malik stood beside her, arms folded tight. "And the Zakari still think I planned this?" "They don't need to think it," she said. "They just need someone to blame." Every time he stepped into a hallway now, voices stopped. Conversations froze. Even his own unit barely looked him in the eye. He heard the whispers. "He's a weapon. Human ego cracked the core." He disturbed the old gods. Grakthul hadn't detained him again, but he might as well have. Malik's clearance had been suspended. His combat gear was locked away. And most damning of all, he wasn't being told anything. "We need to go down there," Malik said quietly. Tara glanced up. "That's a closed zone now, sealed to all personnel outside Zakari command. And you think that's coincidence?" She didn't answer, but the tension in her jaw said enough. "I'm not saying I know what's under there," Malik continued, "but it responded when I lifted that thing. I felt something, like it was waiting. You sound like you're trying to claim ownership." "I'm saying maybe I'm connected to it somehow." Tara didn't scoff. She didn't roll her eyes. She just looked at him with that deep, calculating stare she always had when things stopped making logical sense and started slipping into something older, deeper. "I pulled the audio logs from the moment you lifted it," she said. "Filtered out the background. There's a frequency, inaudible to most species. It spiked exactly when you lifted the war core." "What kind of frequency?" She hesitated. "A resonance pattern, rhythmic, like drumming." Malik froze. "You said your ancestors watch you," Tiara added. "What if something else did too?" Before he could answer, a Zakari officer barged into the room, panting and wild-eyed. "Command requests immediate evacuation of upper sub-level teams. Something's breached the 4th seal." Tara stood. "What breached it?" "No visuals, no contact, just power loss and screaming, then silence." Malik stepped forward. "Let me in." The officer sneered. "So you've done enough, Terran." Malik didn't flinch. "That thing down there isn't just a threat to you. If you let this fester, it could take down the whole base." The officer looked at Tiara, who met his gaze coldly. "He's right," she said. "You've got tech we don't understand reacting to stimuli we can't explain. If the human's presence triggered it, he might be the key to shutting it down." The Zakari didn't argue further. He stormed off, muttering curses in his native tongue. Tara turned to Malik. "We won't get approval, but if you're serious—" "I am." "Then we build our own team, carefully, quietly." Malik's eyes narrowed. "I want people who think past borders. Species who know what it's like to be underestimated." "Good," she said, "because what's coming doesn't care about ranks, or flags, or who cracked the damn floor." Another tremor rippled beneath their boots, stronger this time. The walls groaned, lights flickered. Malik stared down. "Whatever's waking up," he said, "it ain't finished yet." The access hatch hissed open with a reluctant groan, exhaling a breath of ancient stale air. A narrow shaft descended into darkness, dimly lit by flickering red emergency lights that barely reached 20 feet down. Malik adjusted the straps on his back harness. The gear was borrowed, technically unauthorized, but Tara had pulled strings through unofficial channels. No insignias, no trace. "This crew you put together," he muttered, "they know what they're walking into?" Tara tapped her comlink and nodded toward the others gathering behind them. Yaka, the Rulkan soldier who'd warned Malik about the stairs, had traded her plasma rifle for a double-barrel pulse launcher. Her golden eyes didn't blink once. Behind her, A wiry Yik scout named Ski clicked softly to herself as she calibrated her multi-lens goggles. No one knew how she'd survived so many Black Zone recon missions, but the rumors were endless. Last was Dr. Wekesa, an exobiologist from the Martian fringe, older, sharp-eyed, with a slow, deliberate way of speaking that made you lean in. He'd volunteered without being asked. "We ain't heroes," Wekesa had said, "but if the ground's talking, we need someone to listen." They moved single file into the shaft, boots clanking against old metal rungs, the deeper air turning damp and thick. By the time they reached the 4th sublevel, the red lights were gone. Only darkness. Malik clicked his helmet lamp on. The beam cut a narrow cone through the void, illuminating twisted pipes, collapsed bulkheads, and scorch marks that looked recent. "No signs of bodies," Tara said, "but the last team never came back up." Yaka knelt, touched a black smear on the wall. "Whatever did this, it didn't use weapons," Ski chirped. "Organic pattern, fluid trace, movement trails go that way." She pointed toward a broken doorway, half melted, leading into a corridor none of the maps showed. The metal was warped like it had been pushed outward, something trying to escape. They entered slowly, the temperature dropped. A chill crept up Malik's spine, despite the suit's thermal seal. The hallway curved downward, spiraling into something older than the rest of the base. The walls here weren't military-grade steel. They were stone, smooth, black, humming faintly. "Zakari architecture?" Malik whispered. "No," Wekesa said. "Pre-Zakari." They reached a circular chamber. In its center stood a pillar, 20 feet high, covered in carvings glowing faintly blue. Malik approached, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The air pulsed with rhythm, like a heartbeat, like drumming. Ta'ara stepped beside him. "It's reacting to you." He reached out slowly. His fingers touched the pillar's surface, and it lit up. The carvings spread outward like ripples in water. Symbols forming, changing. Wekesa gasped. "That's not language, that's sound notation. Old Earth, West African drumming cycles." Everyone turned to him. "I've seen these in artifacts from Mali, pre-Exodus. This is impossible." Malik's hand trembled against the pillar. Or maybe it's not. Suddenly the room shook, not like before. This was violent, angry. A deep roar echoed through the walls, not just heard but felt. The lights on their suits flickered. From the darkness behind them came the sound of something massive moving. Not footsteps, dragging, scraping, breathing. Yaka raised her launcher. Ski backed toward the door. Malik didn't move. He was still touching the pillar, still hearing the rhythm growing louder in his chest. Not fear. Not warning. Calling. Ta'ara shouted, "We need to fall back!" But Malik didn't move, because whatever was down here, it knew him, and it was waiting. The descent team had set camp in a hollow chamber 3 levels beneath the main excavation. The air was still, heavy with dust and silence. Their portable lights cast long shadows against ancient walls, etched with the same rhythmic patterns as the pillar above. Malik sat with his back to the stone, helmet off, sweat clinging to his brow despite the cold. His breathing had slowed, but his mind raced with questions, not tactical, not scientific, something deeper. Yaka paced the edge of the camp, rifle slung low, eyes scanning every corner. Ski hunched over a datapad, antennae twitching. Wekesa carefully lit a compact stove and passed out thermal packs. Ta'ara sat next to Malik, their knees nearly touching. "You looked like you were somewhere else back there," she said. "I was," he murmured. "It wasn't just sound." "It was memory." "Your own?" "No, not exactly. It felt like it came from everyone. My mother, my grandfather, voices I don't even recognize, like they were drumming from the inside out." She didn't laugh. She didn't dismiss it. She just nodded. "My great-grandmother used to tell stories like that," she said. "Said our blood remembers even when we don't." Malik looked over. "So you ever feel like maybe we didn't just come from Earth? Like maybe Earth came from us?" Wekesa raised an eyebrow from across the camp. "You're talking origin theory, Pan-African cosmic ancestry." I'm talking about the way that pillar sang to me, Malik said. That pattern, it was ours, not some alien mystery. It was drum language, djembe, Yoruba talking drum. You tell me how a structure millions of light years from Earth echoes our rhythm. Ski clicked, suddenly interested. Resonance not random. Echoes repeat structure from your pulse. Matched cadence. Yaka sat beside them with a grunt. All I know is, nothing down here tried to kill us yet, so I'm listening. Malik looked around at the circle of unlikely allies. Scales, skin, fur, antennae. All different, all ready, all marked in some way by pain. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a folded cloth. Inside it, a small handheld drum, handmade, worn from years of use, the last gift his uncle gave him before boarding the shuttle to leave Earth. This came with me across galaxies, he said, laying it on the ground between them. You play? Tara asked. Malik nodded once. Not for show, for grounding. He tapped a slow beat, soft, steady, earthy. Then again, louder. The rhythm began to fill the silence. Tara joined, clapping her hands once every fourth beat. Yaka, hesitant at first, began to tap her boot against the stone. Wekesa hummed a tone that blended perfectly. Even Ski began clicking in rhythm, syncing her antennae flashes to the beat. For the first time since stepping onto Zakar 9, they weren't just a crew, they were a circle. We carry fire, Malik said, voice low. That's what my uncle used to say, in our bones, in our blood. It's not just survival, it's memory passed through rhythm, through breath, through story. Tara closed her eyes, then let it burn. They played. Just a few minutes. But long enough to carve something new into the chamber, something living, something human. When they finished, no one spoke, because in that moment there was nothing more to say. But deep in the stone beyond their camp, something stirred again. Not angry, awake. The drum's echo still lingered in the chamber when the walls began to shift. It was subtle at first. A faint vibration in the soles of their boots, a ripple in the carved lines of the stone. The glow from the ancient pillar pulsed faster, syncing now with Malik's heartbeat, faster, deeper, alive. Tara rose first, scanning the chamber. Something's moving. Back wall. They turned, weapons raised, though Malik didn't lift his. He felt no threat, only presence. Stone slid. Dust fell in sheets. From behind the wall a shape emerged, not lunging, not breaking, but unfolding. A massive figure stepped forward, not a creature, but a being, bipedal, tall as 3 men, its body made of interlocking plates of obsidian and shimmering crystal. Its chest pulsed with blue light, like a living heart beneath armor. Its face had no eyes, no mouth. But somehow, it saw them. Ski squealed and raised her scanner. Energy spike, unreadable, not machine, not pure organic, hybrid unknown. Back up, Yaka ordered. Weapons up. No, Malik said, stepping forward. It's not hostile. Malik, what are you doing? Tara hissed. I don't know how I know, he said, voice steady, but it's listening. The being moved closer, each step silent, deliberate. Then it stopped. Just feet from Malik. It lowered its head, not as a threat, but something almost like recognition. Then, from deep within its core, came a sound. Not speech, not mechanical, a rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. Malik froze. That's a call and response beat. Wekisa's voice was hoarse. That's djembe, basic greeting pattern. Malik lifted the drum again and tapped twice. The being echoed. He tapped again, more complex this time. It responded. It understood. Oh my God, Tara whispered. It's speaking through rhythm. Malik stepped closer, the drum balanced in one hand. You know us, he said, voice tight with awe. You've heard our beat before. The being extended an arm, its hand splitting open like petals to reveal markings. Ancient, familiar, not alien. Earth symbols. Adinkra. Malik gasped. These are Akan glyphs. West Africa. Pre-diaspora. Wekesa stumbled forward, eyes wide. That predates interstellar contact by centuries. It shouldn't be possible. The being's core pulsed faster. Malik's drum trembled in his hand, vibrating with shared energy. He could feel it now. Feel the rhythm not just as sound, but as language, emotion, memory. "I think it remembers us," Malik said, barely above a whisper. "Before the ships, before the stars, it remembers." Ski clicked rapidly, translating emotional output. No aggression, curiosity, connection. It recognizes your pattern as origin. "Origin?" Yaka asked. Ski nodded. "Our words fall short. Best match. Ancestral resonance." Tara stepped beside Malik. "Are you saying this thing thinks humans, black humans, are its kin?" "No," Malik said slowly, eyes locked on the being. "I think it knows we're its children." The chamber pulsed with heat and light. Not dangerous, welcoming. The being raised both hands and pounded them once against its chest. A deep boom echoed through the walls, then silence. A message sent, not just to them. "Whatever this is," Malik said, voice quiet, "we're not alone anymore." Tara's voice was barely audible. "We never were." Behind them, a far-off alarm began to blare, distant, urgent. The Alliance had noticed. Something was coming, and now the ancient voice buried beneath Zakar 9 had risen to meet it. Back at the surface, chaos had broken loose. Command was on lockdown. Alliance ships hovered over Fort Ober like vultures circling a battlefield. Malik and his team were ordered to remain underground, but Tara had bypassed every security feed, looping footage and scrambling their biosignatures. "We bought ourselves maybe an hour," she said. "After that, they'll realize we're not dead or missing." Malik stood near the ancient being, now dormant but upright, its core pulsing like a resting heartbeat. He stared at the Adinkra symbols etched across its arms and chest, studying the curves, the repetitions, the unmistakable patterns. "This can't be a coincidence," he said. "This is deliberate. These symbols are knowledge." "Our knowledge." Wakasa crouched beside it, running a handheld DNA sampler through the glowing plates. "I isolated a biological trace in the stone dust from its chamber. It's not Zakari." Ski leaned closer, antennae twitching. "Human?" Wakasa nodded. "Specifically mitochondrial. And more than that, it's consistent with West African maternal lines. Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon." Malik took a step back. "You're telling me this machine, or whatever it is, has Earth ancestry?" "Not just ancestry," Wakasa replied. "It's tuned to it. Your voice, your rhythm, your DNA. This thing was designed to recognize you. Not humans in general. You." Malik's breath caught. "You mean—" "Your bloodline carries the code," Wakasa said. "Not metaphorically. Literally." Yaka looked skeptical. "Are you saying he's some chosen one?" "No," Wakasa answered. "I'm saying someone or something knew this moment would come, and encoded part of itself into a specific human lineage to ensure it could be awakened." Tara looked at Malik, her voice low. "That's why it responded to your drumming, to your touch." "It wasn't just a response," Malik said. "It was familiarity. It's been waiting for the right beat, the right voice." Yaka raised her weapon again. "So what does it want?" Before anyone could answer, the being stirred. Its core glowed brighter, not in warning, but in communication. The Adinkra symbols along its arms shifted, reformed into a single central glyph glowing golden. Wekasa's eyes widened. "That symbol, it means Iban, a safe space." "Sanctuary," Malik stepped forward. "You want to protect something?" The glyph shifted again. Now it says Duafe, cleanliness, nurture, feminine energy. "These aren't war codes," Tara said. "These are values." The final symbol that formed next was one every West African child had seen on cloth doors jewelry. "Fawahodi," Wakasa whispered. "Freedom, emancipation." Silence settled over the team. Malik stared at the being. "This isn't a weapon, it's a guardian." "More than that," Wakasa said. "It's a message." Ski tapped into the being's energy stream. "Incoming transmission, slow data burst, non-verbal, emotion-driven, but the target is specific." Who? Malik asked. Ski pointed directly at him. You. Malik approached the being again. This time, it didn't move. But its energy shifted, resonating with his presence. The symbols flared once, then went dim, and in his mind, like a dream that didn't belong to him, Malik saw it. A city made of light and drum. A ship built not for conquest, but for carrying stories. Generations born in silence, awaiting the day a voice would sing again in their frequency. It wasn't history, it was inheritance, and he was the key. The ground rumbled again. Outside, the Alliance was mobilizing. Inside, Malik opened his eyes, breath steady. They're going to want to shut this down, he said. Tara nodded. Then we better make sure the truth gets out first. Malik stood in front of the ancient being, the revelation still vibrating in his chest like the last beat of a drum. The others were silent, watching him, waiting. But above them, the war was already coming. A sharp ping in Tara's comm shattered the quiet. She answered, voice tense. Njoki here. Grakthul's voice growled through the channel. Return to base immediately. Sub-level protocol has been overridden. The artifact will be extracted and destroyed. No, Tara said without hesitation. You don't understand. That is an order. The comm cut. Malik stared at her. They're gonna erase all of it. Wakesa's shoulders slumped. Of course, they'll say it was unstable, a threat. They'll cover the truth like they always do. Tara was already moving, eyes blazing. We can't let them. If that thing is connected to your lineage, to Earth history, if it proves humans weren't the last to arrive but the first to remember, then the whole power structure cracks, Malik finished. Yaka cursed. That's why they kept us down here. That's why they let you take the blame. They knew if this thing woke up, it'd rewrite everything. Ski blinked rapidly. Alliance forces approaching. 30+ armed units. ETA 15 minutes. Wakesa stood, voice shaking. If they destroy that being, we don't just lose technology. We lose proof that our story didn't start with chains. The words hit Malik like a blow to the chest. Tara stepped beside him. You said you felt cold, like it knew you. I still do, he said, and I'm not leaving it behind. Yaka slung her rifle. Then we hold, Ski chirped. You all mad, I like that. They barricaded the chamber entrance with old crates, debris, and layered pulse mines from Ski's pack. It wouldn't hold forever, but it didn't need to, just long enough. Malik approached the being again, his fingers brushing the Adinkra glyphs. You hear me? The core pulsed in response. I don't want war. But I won't let them silence you. The air around them began to shift, denser, warmer. The walls lit up faintly, like veins glowing from within. The being stirred again, slightly taller now, its plates adjusting like armor. Malik, Tara said. They're jamming signals. If we don't get data out now, there won't be a second chance. He nodded and reached into his belt, pulling out a storage shard. Help me record everything, scans, images, voice files. If I can't speak for it later, this will. Suddenly, the outer door shook. A voice roared through the comm system. Stand down, Johnson. You are in violation of Alliance command. You are to be detained immediately. Malik clicked on his comm. General. Do you ever stop and wonder why none of your people could lift that stone? Grakthul's silence was his answer. It wasn't about strength, Malik continued. It was about recognition, about memory. Whatever that thing is, the general growled, it's dangerous. And so are you. Then maybe it's time you learned who we really are. The blast doors began to crack under pressure. Tara loaded her sidearm. We won't hold long. Malik turned to the team. You don't have to stay. Yaka raised her weapon. Too late. We family now. Ski chittered a war rhythm. Wakesa sealed the data shard, eyes glowing with purpose. And behind them, the being lifted its head, the sanctuary glyph burning like fire across its chest. Malik stood firm, heart steady. This wasn't just resistance. It was reclamation. The explosion tore through the barricade like thunder cracking open the sky. Smoke and sparks filled the chamber as Malik and his team scrambled for cover. Shouts echoed, Alliance troops storming the corridor, weapons drawn, formation tight. Tara ducked behind a support beam, eyes scanning for roots. They've got riot gear and stun fields. They're not here to talk. Malik crouched low, heartbeat drumming in sync with the pulse of the being behind him. It hadn't moved, but it hadn't shut down either. Its core was glowing steadily, brighter now, as if drawing in strength from something unseen. Wekesa shouted from the side, "Malik!" Look! Above the being, stone and steel peeled away like paper, revealing a secondary chamber they hadn't known existed. Inside, at the center, stood a vertical slab of dark crystal embedded in the ground. Energy lines ran across it like veins. "It's a power core," Wekesa said. "Old as this place. If they detonate that chamber, they'll kill all of us," Malik finished. "And erase everything." Yucca fired into the corridor. "They've planted charges. That's a demolition team." "We have to shut it down," Tiara called. Ski scanned the slab. "No interface, no external input. Responds only to internal pattern." Malik turned to the being. "Can you stop this?" The being didn't speak, but it moved, slowly extending its arm toward the slab, touching it. The crystal glowed faintly and then flickered. "Something's wrong," Wekesa said. "It's not enough." Malik felt it before anyone else. The pull, the echo, like something inside him responding to an ancient voice. He stepped forward. "Malik, no!" Tiara shouted, but he didn't stop. He reached the base of the slab and placed both palms against it. The energy surged up his arms, burning but not painful, more like revelation. Visions flashed across his mind, cities lost beneath oceans, ships made of song, hands raised to the stars in prayer and protest. Ancestors who had never known his name, but who had walked the same path. "You are the rhythm, you are the vessel. Lift not with might, but memory." Malik's knees buckled as the slab began to rise. It was impossibly heavy, 1,000 tons of ancient stone and power. But he gritted his teeth, roared, and stood taller. His muscles strained. Blood pulsed in his ears. Dust rained from the ceiling. Tara ran to his side. "You can't hold that alone." "I'm not alone," Malik said through gritted teeth. "Not this time." The others joined. Yucca placed her hands against the side, anchoring the weight. Ski deployed stabilizers. Wekesa activated a harmonic field, amplifying Malik's heartbeat into the structure. Together, they lifted. The slab shuddered, then clicked into place. The chamber roared with light. A wave of energy surged outward, not destructive, but cleansing. The walls hummed with sound. The glyphs flared. Then silence. Outside, the incoming troops froze mid-step. Their weapons powered down. The detonators in their belts blinked, then deactivated. Malik collapsed to one knee, sweat pouring down his face, arms shaking from the effort. The ancient being lowered its head toward him, pressing its hand briefly to his shoulder. Recognition. "You did it," Tiara whispered, crouching beside him. "No," Malik said, breathless. "We did." Above them, the ceiling began to shift. A skylight formed, projecting starlight from far above the surface. For the first time, natural light touched the heart of Zakar 9's secret, and beneath that light stood Malik Johnson. Not just a soldier, but a bridge between bloodlines. A man who lifted the world because he carried every soul that came before him. The council chamber was carved from obsidian and silence. 12 representatives of the Galactic Alliance sat in a semicircle, faces drawn, robes draped in status. Behind them floated hollow screens showing images of Fort Oba, the cracked war core, the glowing glyphs, the moment Malik stood with the ancient being backlit by starlight. He stood at the center of the chamber, alone but not empty. Tara watched from the wings, hands clasped tightly in front of her. Wekesa, Yucca, and Ski had been barred from attending. Too much unverified influence, they said. Malik had been given 5 minutes, no more. A Zakari admiral spoke first. "Staff Sergeant Malik Johnson, you stand accused of disobedience, sabotage of Alliance military assets, and unauthorized interaction with classified xenotech. How do you plead?" Malik didn't flinch. "Not guilty." Laughter from a few. Others remained stone-faced. "Then speak your truth," the admiral said. Let us judge its worth. Malik stepped forward. I didn't break protocol. I answered a call. Something buried under that base wasn't just old tech. It was a message, not for all humans, not for any soldier. For me. For the people I come from. He looked each of them in the eye. For centuries, the story told about Earth has been one of survival, a primitive world pulled into your civilization. But what I found down there proves otherwise. That being, it didn't teach us. It remembered us. A Cherine counselor sneered. A machine responded to rhythm. So what? Coincidence and myth do not override military security. Tara's voice rang out, clear and defiant. Then explain the glyphs, the language, the DNA matched to West African maternal lines, the harmonic patterns, encoded for specific resonance. The Zakari admiral raised a hand. You are not authorized to speak, Malik continued. You're afraid. Because if this is true, it means the people you thought came from the bottom were the ones who started the climb. The silence grew heavier. You called me dangerous, but I never raised a weapon. I raised a memory. I honored a rhythm passed down generations, something that machine, no, that guardian was waiting to hear. Another counselor leaned forward. And what proof do you offer that this guardian poses no threat? I don't, Malik said, because you don't earn trust with claims. You earn it by listening. And for once, something listened to us. He paused, breathing deep. My people's history has always been one of being told to sit down, to be quiet, to let others speak for us. But this time our voice reached across stars. And it answered. He stepped back. You can punish me if you want, strip my rank, lock me up. But what happened on Zakar 9 can't be buried. It's in the walls now, in the rhythm, in the record. The Admiral's gaze hardened. Your statement has been heard. Malik didn't bow. He turned and walked away, back straight, fists loose, gaze ahead. In the chamber's silence, no verdict came. But no one spoke to stop him either. As he stepped into the corridor, Tara joined him. You think it was enough? She asked. I don't know, he said, but I said what had to be said. She slipped the data shard into his hand. In case they try to erase it. He looked at it, then at her. We'll make sure they can't. She smiled. Let's go home. He paused. You mean Earth? No, she said softly. I mean wherever we're finally heard. And behind them, far away in the dark chambers beneath Fort Ober, the Guardian waited. Not silent, not sleeping, but listening still. The name Fort Ober still hung over the gate in rusted alloy, but everything beneath it had changed. Malik stood on the upper deck overlooking the training yard. New recruits moved through drills. Zakari, Ralkan, humans, even a few Tentari. But what caught his eye wasn't the diversity, it was the rhythm. 2 soldiers, one from Lagos, one from a lunar colony, had rigged an old djembe and a set of converted pulse drums. They were teaching a group of alien cadets how to clap the call and response, and they were getting it. Tara joined him, her uniform crisp, her eyes watching the same thing. They said it wouldn't last, she said. Said you'd be forgotten once the noise died down. But they didn't bury the truth, Malik said, and we didn't let them silence the beat. The council hadn't made an official ruling. There was no medal, no public apology, no statement to the stars. But quietly, changes had come. Orders now required historical review of cultural markers. Ancestral frequency recognition was being studied. The Zakari Tech Divisions opened a joint lab with Earth's Harmonic Anthropology Corps. Most importantly, the Guardian remained untouched. Fort Ober became the first joint protected cultural site in the outer systems, not a weapon vault, a sanctuary. Malik turned toward the inner yard, where the War Corps had once stood. Now in its place was a ring of carvings, symbols from across the diaspora. Adinkra, Nsibidi, Coptic stars, even coded jazz notations. Yaka, now a squad lead, passed by with her unit in tow. She tipped her head toward Malik. We still owe you a rematch, she said. He grinned. Only if you bring that busted launcher again. Ski was on a tower perch nearby, training new scouts in pattern recognition. She clicked a rhythm. 3 sharp pulses, then laughed as her students scrambled to interpret it. Wakesa had taken a post at the new Zakar 9 Institute, working on decoding deeper harmonic histories buried in both architecture and biology. "You think they'll ever admit where the roots really came from?" Malik asked. Tara shrugged. "They don't have to." He looked at her. "We know," she said, "and we carry it forward." A siren blared once. Only a drill. The recruits didn't flinch. Malik watched one of the young humans help a Tentari adjust their stance, gently correcting posture with the ease of a teacher, not a superior. It was working. Slowly. But it was working. Malik walked down into the yard. As he passed the recruits, many saluted. Some nodded in silent recognition, others smiled. Not because of what he did, but what he represented. He approached the center ring and placed one hand on the carving marked Fawa Hodi, freedom, not given, claimed. Behind him the drums started again. He tapped his foot to the rhythm, the same rhythm that had echoed through caverns, through crystal, through time, the one that made machines listen and history rise. Ta'ara called out from above, her voice playful. "You gonna teach or just supervise, old man?" He smirked. "They already know the steps." "I'm just here to keep the tempo." The cadets gathered, laughter and movement blending into one pulse. A living beat, and Fort Oba, once a prison of ignorance, now stood as a monument to memory, to rhythm, to rebirth. The morning sun cast long shadows across Fort Oba's training yard. A cool breeze stirred the dust, rare for Zakar 9, and even rarer on a drill day. Malik leaned against the railing of the observation deck, arms crossed, eyes narrowed at the new batch of recruits below. Fresh uniforms, nervous energy, wide-eyed wonder. He recognized it all. Down in the yard, a Zakari general stood tall before the group. Not Grakthul. He'd been reassigned to a diplomatic post after the council hearings, but his replacement bore the same arrogance, the same hard edge. "Discipline begins with humility," the general barked, "and none of you have earned pride yet." He pointed toward the far end of the yard. There it sat again, the new war corps, slightly smaller than the last, still massive, still a test. "No one lifts that without permission," the general said. "It's not a toy for Terran muscle fantasies." A few cadets chuckled. One of them, a young human recruit from Atlanta, shifted his stance, eyes locked on the stone. "You," the general snapped. "Step forward." The recruit did. "Name?" "Private Elijah Brooks." The general circled him. "Think you're strong?" "No, sir. You look strong. Only when I need to be." The general snorted. "You think you can lift that core?" Elijah hesitated. Then, with a glance toward the observation deck, he said, "I was taught to know when to lift and when to listen." The general turned to the group. "That's the correct answer. You are not warriors yet. You are potential. Discipline will determine if you become more." He dismissed them with a wave and strode off, boots echoing in the quiet. Elijah stood a moment longer, then looked up at the deck. He found Malik's eyes, raised a fist to his chest. Malik returned the gesture. Later in the communal hall, Malik sat at a table surrounded by laughter, music, and clattering trays. The pulse of drums played from a speaker in the corner, blended with synth, with jazz, with sound born from Earth, and stretched across galaxies. Tara sat across from him, reading dispatches on a holoscroll. "You see the new kid?" she asked. "I did." "You think he's ready?" "He don't have to be," Malik said. "He's got time." And rhythm. A server passed with sweet tea made from off-world leaves and Earth-imported sugar root. Malik took a sip, leaned back, let the noise of Fort Oba wash over him. No more stares, no more proving, only presence. Ski passed by with a pair of young recruits, clicking and laughing, wearing a woven sash patterned with Adinkra glyphs. One of them asked if the Guardian ever spoke. "Not in words," Malik said. "In truth." The recruit blinked, confused. "You'll feel it one day," he added, "when you're ready." Outside, the war corps gleamed under the midday sun, untouched, waiting. Malik walked out alone before sunset. He approached the stone, touched it gently, whispered something only the dust could hear. Behind him, Elijah's voice rang out. "They said you lifted the first one." "Broke the floor," Malik smiled. "That's what they say." "And did you?" He turned. "I didn't lift it to prove anything," Malik said. "I lifted it because it needed to be moved." Elijah nodded slowly. "Think I'll ever be ready?" "You will," Malik said. "One day someone will tell you, you can't lift that, and you'll know whether you need to." He walked away, the sun low behind him, casting his shadow long across the yard. The rhythm followed, soft, proud, unbroken.